The most dangerous addiction in the world doesn't come in a bottle. It doesn't come from a needle. It comes from a nod, a smile, a moment of approval from someone whose opinion you've decided matters more than your own. And Machiavelli saw this weakness centuries before psychology had a name for it. He watched kings collapse. He watched generals crumble, not because they lacked intelligence, not because they lacked strength, but because they needed to be liked. And that need, that quiet, invisible hunger for acceptance, is the most efficient way to destroy yourself that has ever existed. Most people don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're being kind, diplomatic, relatable. But beneath all of it is a calculation running constantly in the background. Will they approve of this? Will they like me more or less if I say that? That calculation is not strategy. That is slavery. And Machiavelli would have no patience for it. Because in every room, in every negotiation, in every relationship, the one who needs approval has already lost. Likability and respect are not the same thing. They are opposites. The more you chase one, the further you move from the other. Because respect is not given to those who bend. It is given to those who refuse to. There are 3 reasons why trying to be liked destroys you, and each one is more dangerous than the last. The first, it makes you a mirror instead of a man. When your primary goal in any interaction is to be liked, you stop showing up as yourself. You start showing up as a reflection. You mirror their energy, their opinions, their comfort level. You agree when you don't. You stay quiet when you should speak. And slowly, without noticing, you become someone with no edges, no friction, no identity. Machiavelli would call this the greatest act of self-erasure a person can commit. Because you cannot be respected if you cannot be defined. People don't respect mirrors. They use them. They look at you and see themselves looking back, and then they move on to something that actually has weight. The person who agrees with everyone is trusted by no one. When you remove your edges to be liked, you become soft. And softness invites manipulation. People sense it before they see it. They feel the absence of resistance, and they push. Every time you bend, they lose a layer of respect. Machiavelli would say, the man who shapes himself around others has no shape at all. And a shapeless man can be molded into anything. That is not power. That is raw material waiting to be used. The second reason is even more dangerous, because it signals need, and need is weakness made visible. The moment you prioritize being liked, you send a signal, not loudly, not obviously, but unmistakably. You signal that other people's perception of you matters more than your own, that their comfort matters more than your truth, that you need something from them, and that signal is everything. Because once someone detects your need, they own the transaction. Machiavelli built entire political frameworks around this principle. He understood that in any dynamic, the one who needs more loses more. It doesn't matter if what they need is money, power, or approval. The need itself is the vulnerability. People who try to be liked are in a perpetual state of debt, emotional debt to every person whose approval they're quietly chasing. And you cannot lead from debt. You cannot build from debt. You cannot even think clearly from debt. Because every decision you make is filtered through one question. What will they think? That question is a cage. And the worst part is, you built it yourself. Every bar forged from a moment you chose their comfort over your truth. The man who needs nothing from you is the most unsettling person you will ever meet. Not because he's aggressive, not because he's cold, but because you cannot leverage him. You cannot bargain with his insecurity because he has none visible. You cannot bait him with approval because he isn't hunting for it. And a man who cannot be baited cannot be controlled. That is who you must become. Not cold, not arrogant. Simply unreachable by manipulation. The third reason is the most brutal. It is that the pursuit of being liked guarantees you are forgotten. Think about the people you actually remember, not the ones who agreed with everything you said, not the ones who laughed at every joke. You remember the ones who made you feel something, who challenged you, who refused to shrink, who said something unexpected, who made you uncertain about where you stood with them. Mystery is memory, and mystery cannot exist in a person who needs to be liked, because a person who needs to be liked must constantly confirm your impression of them. They must reassure you, remain knowable, accessible, pleasant, and in doing so, they become forgettable. A conversation you had once, a person who left no mark. Machiavelli understood that influence is not built through warmth. It is built through gravity. And gravity comes not from pulling people in, but from the weight you carry, the things you refuse to do, the opinions you refuse to abandon. When you stop trying to be liked, something uncomfortable happens first. People notice the shift. They push a little harder. They try to re-engage you on the old terms, the terms where you needed them. And when you don't come back, some drift. Let them, because what replaces them is something they never could have given you. Clarity, the slow, quiet recognition of your own voice, the ability to walk into any room and speak from position, not from fear, not from performance, from absolute certainty. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But what people miss in that sentence is the why. He didn't advocate for fear as a goal. He advocated for it as a consequence of never compromising your position for the comfort of those who would use your softness against you. When you stop trying to be liked, you don't become feared. You become respected, and respected in a way that liked never touches. Because liked is fragile. It depends on your continued performance. It disappears the moment you stop giving people what they want. But respected endures. It lives in the memory of how you held your ground when everyone else folded. You will not be liked by everyone. Machiavelli certainly wasn't, because transformation requires truth, and truth is rarely comfortable. It rarely earns warm smiles from people who preferred the version of you that asked for their approval. But it earns something better, the only currency that actually compounds over time. Respect from the few who are watching with clear eyes. Those people are in your orbit right now, and they are watching to see what you do when approval is expensive and your truth is inconvenient. Stop performing for the room. Stop softening your conviction to make others comfortable. Stop laughing when you don't find it funny. Stop agreeing when you disagree. Stop asking whether they'll like you, more or less. That question has cost you enough already. Machiavelli would tell you this. The man who is loved by many controls nothing. The man who is respected by few controls everything worth having. Because love can be manufactured. Approval can be bought, but respect, real respect, can only be earned by one thing, by refusing to need it. Stop chasing liked, start building respected. Because Machiavelli knew what most people spend their whole lives learning too late. The approval you're hunting was never going to fill you, but the respect you build by refusing to hunt it, that endures beyond you.